first race weekend of the 2025 F1 season, and we're going to be having F2 and F3 as support series. And I recommend that you watch them because that's generally where future F1 drivers will come from. At least that's the case for the majority of the recent newcomers. So here is a very quick explanation of the 3 Formula 1 feeder series that we will see during F1 race weekends. The 3 series are F2, F3 and Formula 1 Academy, all of which are spec series. And a spec series means that all of the drivers are going to be using the same spec engine, chassis and tyres. So there's more emphasis on the driver's capabilities. The drivers are essentially showcasing their talents with the aim of moving up to the next series. Although in some cases a driver can skip a series. However, it's not all down to the drivers. The teams still need to maximise what they have. For example, their strategy, their data analysis, their pit stops and their setup. And there's also a difference between the teams regarding how quickly they can change their parts. But what are the differences between the 3 series? Starting with F2, there are 11 teams and 22 drivers. And this year they will have 14 race weekends and 28 races. And that's because they have a sprint race on Saturday, which uses a reverse grid, and then the feature race on Sunday. Unlike in F1, F2 drivers have to pay to be able to drive, which can cost about $2 to $3 million, but it does depend on the team. And if they win the championship, they can't enter again. One step down from F2 is F3, whose cars are less powerful and have simpler engineering compared to F2. Also, they have 10 race weekends and 20 races, but they're shorter and they don't have a mandatory pit stop like they do in the feature race for F2. And their race weekends follow this structure. Overall, there will be 10 teams on the grid and 30 drivers. And the driver fee is less than F2, but still clocks in at about $1 million. Lastly is the F1 Academy, which I cover as a co-host on the 107 Podcasters series. And I'm also going to be making a lot more content about it on here. It's still the new kid on the block, so I imagine there are going to be changes made to its format. In fact, they announced a reverse grid for the first race of the weekend just a couple of weeks ago. And the aim of this series is slightly different to the other two because it wants to showcase the talent of females who are aged between 16 and 25. And their cars can be likened to a modified F4 chassis. This year there are going to be 7 race weekends and 14 races. And their race weekends follow this structure. And they've increased the numbers on the grid so there will be 6 teams and 18 drivers. Also, they have a rule that you can't compete for more than 2 championships. Lastly, I believe the cost to enter is €100,000.